This video contains information and photos from the 1995 Tokyo nerve gas attack. Please, if you are easily disturbed or otherwise offended by information regarding the violent history of domestic terror attacks in Japan, turn away from this video now. You have been warned. March 20th, 2025 is the 30th anniversary of the Japanese subway sarin gas attack. That's right. That was carried out by the Aum Shinrikyu cult. This was a religious cult that was doomsdayified. They walked around believing the end times were coming and decided to make those end times come around. They became increasingly more militant and more dangerous and committed the most, I believe it's the most violent domestic terrorism act ever committed in Japan's entire history. This killed, I believe, 13 people and injured 5,000 people. Sarin gas is nerve gas. Inhaling it begins destroying your nervous system. It begins destroying your respiratory system. Essentially, it is a floating poison. It has been outlawed by the Geneva Convention, even for use during war. Okay? To be abundantly clear about what Ubisoft has just decided to celebrate, by the way. Okay? Now, I want to make it known that this is not, right? This is not a case for, oh, well, you know, you can't publish your game if some country somewhere is dealing with a tragedy. No, that's not what I mean. Assassin's Creed Shadows is set in Japan. It is set in one of the most culturally significant time periods in Japan as well, the Sengoku period. And this is one of the most important figures in Japanese history. Oda Nobunaga, this is where he comes from. All right, he's a very, very important figure in Japanese history because he effectively united the lands. He was effectively, if not he was one of the most powerful shogun ever. Okay, one of the most powerful shogun ever. And so I don't know if he was the most, but he was one of the most powerful ever. And so he earned many, many different reputations. He was also very open-minded, and so a lot of the West became very involved in this time period as well, all right? So Nobunaga was very interested in doing business with the Dutch and with the Portuguese and the English and those who were coming from the West, okay? Not so interested in doing business with China, okay? So what I want to stress here is that this is a game that's very rooted in Japanese culture. It has done its very best to try and align its attitude with Japan, okay? And so earlier they had to recall the one-legged Torii Gate. We remember that with their little cartoon characters sitting on the one-legged Torii Gate that survived the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. More importantly, Nagasaki, which is where it's located. They turned that into a neat little pop figure thing, and then they had to rescind that and be like, all right, melt them down, turn them into McDonald's toys. They went back to that. Then they stole One Piece Zoro's sword and claimed that it was Yasuke's sword, even though it was tracked down to a One Piece cosplay site from Poland, I think. They used that, tried to pass it off as that. At every turn, they're buying Chinese-made goods to advertise this. So what I'm trying to express is that in no way, shape, or form has Ubisoft attempted to remain culturally sensitive. As we keep hearing over and over and over again from the people that work at these offices, that is their highest priority, that they want to produce just a very culturally accurate game, very historically accurate game. We want to make sure that we're paying homage to the greatness of Japanese history. Yeah, apparently not. Remember, they also told us that they hired historians, that they also hired cultural experts as well. And apparently all those people were out the fucking lunch, right? Self-censoring here. Out the fucking lunch when the big boss came down here, Dumante, the head of the Assassin's Creed department. I'm sure Alexis Cotier had something to do with this as well. Whatever hell his name is, the French guy that's high-strung about Assassin's Creed. I'm sure, you know, those Japanese cultural experts were just like, ha ha ha, okay, that sounds cool, good job. Now, to you, the American, or somewhere else in the world, this date may not be something significant. But as I explained, it's so significant to the Japanese that they went out of the way to remove all of the trash cans in the public. All right? This is gone. So what happened, though, is that because of this, Japanese citizens were encouraged to take their trash home with them to dispose of them, or to the nearest dumpster, for instance, which usually was located to where their home, near their home. And so what ended up happening with this situation is that it boiled over to where people simply started being more cleanly with how they did this. Even today, people are uncomfortable with being on the subway at certain times of the year. There's people who have an irrational fear of the subway as well. And they should. And I'm going to let you know, just as a disclaimer at the beginning of this video explained, what we're about to talk about and look at isn't so gruesome as it is intense, okay? You're not going to see any bodies or anything like that, but what we're going to talk about is fairly intense, all right? So let's get into it. Japan executed 6 members of the Aum Shinrikyu cult behind the deadly sarin gas attack back in 1995, all right? Now, executions in Japan are not unheard of. You know, it's not impossible to have that done. They have a 100% conviction rate. So it's like, you know, you screw up, you're going to get punished there. And these guys definitely screwed up. All right. The scene you're looking at here is the immediate aftermath where people, like I said, 5,000 people were harmed by this. And as I said, when you inhale this gas, terrible things start happening to your insides. And so while I believe it was 13 or 15 people, I'm not sure exactly, but there was a group of people who did succumb to the gas in the subway and were unable to make it out. One of them was a college girl that passed away here, and she was just on her way to school one day, 18 years old, with the whole world in front of her whole life in front of her. And it was ended on this day because of psychopaths that thought they knew better than God. So we'll move on to the next piece. So we have a bit more in-depth information here. I don't want to read the NBC article because they'll say sideways things. This comes from a person in Japan explaining what happened here. This is live door news from Japan. And it says, in 1995, members of the Aum Shinrikyu cult released nerve gas, sarin, the sarin nerve gas, inside a Tokyo subway car. The incident occurred around 8 a.m. on a weekday during rush hour, leaving around 6,300, so it's more than 5,000, my apologies, 6,300 people injured and 14 dead. A station employee who disposed of the liquid on the floor to prevent the damage from spreading also lost his life. Okay? And again, just look at the picture here. It's very serious situation. Ubisoft is not unaware of this. As I said, they have cultural experts. They told us they were working with people in the Japanese offices at Ubisoft, okay? Right? The Ubisoft Japanese offices. They were telling us they were working with them. So there is no way in hell, all right? You are never going to convince me that people in that office didn't know about this when they made that decision to release this game. That's already pushing buttons, okay? So on this day, you're supposed to be like, we're going to go celebrate. We'll get to it. Here we go. So this is a bit more information on the cult, okay? So on June 27th, 1994, a year before the attack, roughly about a year before the subway attack, the Aum Shinrikyu cult released a sarin gas homemade explosive, homemade release in Matsumoto, Japan. The attack resulted in 7 deaths, okay? They were practicing. They were building up to this. This is what happens with these groups. They make small little attacks in order to test the technology that they've perfected in their basement. And then they multiply that capability into the primary attack that they've been planning. This injured over 600 people. This horrifying act was a precursor to their infamous Tokyo subway nerve gas attack. And here's a picture of them. It's not very clear because, you know, this person probably pulled it from a YouTube video. But this is a picture of the group together. I believe this is some of the members. This is their leader. I'm not sure of his name, and I'm not sure I want to know his name. You know what I mean? We don't really want to remember him. We want to remember the people that passed away trying to survive the attack that he premeditated on his own people. Okay? So this is the group you're looking at right here that committed these attacks. All right? And you'll note they're all Japanese people. Okay? This was not an attack. Well, they're Japanese in how they're presenting themselves. Let's put it that way. I don't know the exact nationalities of everybody here, but it is known to me that the attackers here were citizens that were part of a cult that were led to believe that this was primary in their effort to ascend with their religious beliefs, you know. Again, you're dealing with a group of people that amalgamated most of like apocalyptic theory from like every religion. Then they melted in Buddhism, they melted in Christianity, and this guy in the front here was claiming that he was Jesus. So how many times have we heard that before? Old Jim Jones and his funny tasting Kool-Aid, right? So we'll move on. And so here's some more photos about this. And so they released the gas on 5 subway trains, and it carried out this stuff. And so as you can see, this is the Japanese self-defense force being deployed to decontaminate the subway cars. I'm not even sure if some of them were able to return to active duty after this. They may have had to have been destroyed completely. I suspect the fabric had to be destroyed as well. And so again, you see someone here who is suffering. This is not a deceased person. This is someone who is clinging to life. I do not know if this person was deceased at the hospital, but as you can see right here, they are wearing a gas mask, and they are being taken for care. Okay, so don't, please, as far as I know, from what the information I understand about this picture, the gentleman on the stretcher is alive at the time of this photo, okay? Which is a miracle in and of itself, considering what happened here, all right? As you can see, the fellas that are carrying him out of here are wearing hazmat and air control suits, environmental control suits, in order to keep themselves from exposure that could be lingering, by the way, because this is fresh after the attack. And as you can see, these are people that are in recovery out here trying to get some oxygen. That, as you can see, this person's curled up here, this person's curled up. They're all uncovered is what I'm trying to point out to you. These are not bodies. These are people that were not directly exposed, but inhaled enough of the gas to begin feeling very dramatic symptoms that may need time to rest and get fresh air into their lungs. And so that's what you're looking at here. And through all of this, right, this is the day. This is the day that Ubisoft wants you to celebrate. This is the day that Ubisoft wants you to say, yeehaw, we've got our Black Samurai now. It's been thoroughly discredited over and over again, by the way, which makes zero Japanese people happy, knowing that they've been lied to about Yasuke. But here we have it. On the same day that all of this went down, the 30th anniversary of when all this went down, all right? You're supposed to play a game where this happens.
I said kill him.
At least he's got a neat hip-hop background tune, right? While he's killing those Japanese men. A game where the central focus is murdering Japanese people. Excuse me, who is Yasuke's primary adversary in this? The Templar, right? Sure. But the Templar are using the Japanese, so the Japanese are also Yasuke's adversaries. And as you can see here, he's crushing their heads, splattering them, and to great effect, you heard those sound effects, and hoisting them up on the top of his sword, because he's 8 feet tall and can just do that to these toddler-sized Japanese men who are powerless to stop him from cutting them down. Are you feeling it yet, Mr. Krabs? Are you feeling it yet? I'm feeling it. I'm really feeling it right about now. This is the long list of abuses that this French company has practiced upon the Japanese, and it is abundantly clear that the theory that Japanese are hated by Ubisoft is now confirmed 100%. I will hear no argument to the contrary. Okay? That's like releasing a flight simulator game on 9/11 in America. In America, right? It's Blue Angels, right? You're meant to be a Blue Angel pilot and perform all sorts of super neat tricks and shoot down adversaries, you know, flying terrorists, that kind of stuff, right? So it's meant to be rootin' tootin', but it kind of calls into question America's racism at the same time, right? There's a little bit of underscore of like, America's not so great. And it comes out on 9/11. How about that? It smears our history, right? With these cool effects, right? And then paints us as not so great inside of that. And then it's released on 9/11. I'm not so sure people would go over for that. How about if they released a school, a guy goes into school with one of those rat-a-tatas and goes rat-a-tatting through the school. What if those was released on the anniversary of Sandy Hook? I'm not so sure people would be hee-hawing and passing it off so much. And this is what annoys me the most about my countrymen, all right? And you know who you are. You're down in the comments already, tic-tacking away, telling me this got nothing to do with Ubisoft. Screw you. Screw you, it doesn't. It absolutely has everything to do with this company. They know what they're doing. They think they're smart, all right? Because by releasing it on March 20th in the West, they're releasing it on March 21st in the East. Oh, ho, ho. They think they're so smart. They think they're going to limbo ride underneath that one right there. Like, whoops, missed us. No. It's the 30th anniversary of that attack, and they know exactly what they're doing. It's the 20th to the rest of the world. It's the 21st to Japan. And they're hoping that that's just enough distance. Now, why they chose that and not the 19th and not the 22nd and not the 25th or the 15th, I don't know. But it is incredibly deliberate to choose the 30th anniversary of the most extreme domestic terrorist attack in Japan's history to launch your game about killing Japanese people. So I ask you, you who are the Japanese citizens who reply here, I ask you to write to your congresspeople, write to your representatives in the Japanese Diet, and tell them that Ubisoft must be brought to bear, that they are a threat to Japanese culture, and they seek to erode what it is to be Japanese. They seek to break Japanese harmony, and they seek to sow distrust among your people. They seek to break your historical bonds, and they seek to mock the tragedies that you have survived. I'm not going to tolerate it, but I'm a world away from you. So I would expect, after hearing all of this and seeing what Ubisoft has done, for you to take some action. I take action when this stuff happens. I get in the faces of my representatives on X if I have to. I don't care. They serve me, just like the Diet serves you. I've had enough of this, and I know you have too. So I ask that you take up your keyboard and you bash it over the heads of these people, metaphorically. Don't go out and hurt anybody. That was the problem in the begin with, all right? But you take this and metaphorically let them have it. Because I'm not interested in playing these civil games anymore with, did you really mean to do this? Yes. Yes, they did. Absolutely. You can't run a Google search through there. Can't run a Google search. Japan, March 20th. Nobody thought. Not even the people who work in the Japanese offices were like, whoa, wait a minute here. No, don't tolerate that. Don't sit there and say, well, people make mistakes. We can't expect everybody they know what they're doing. They're making a game about Japanese culture and Japanese history. They have asked to have Japanese cultural experts around, okay? And guess what? Not a one of those people had the spine to bring up that this was the date that they shouldn't be releasing this game. It's kind of like 2 dates where the West really shouldn't be doing anything in Japan, really, regarding smearing their culture, I don't think anybody should be smearing their culture, but I think there's certain dates of the year where that kind of should be off limits. Sort of like how 9/11, it's not a good idea to go around and waggle your finger in Americans' face if you want to keep all of your facial structure, If you like the way you look in the mirror, you probably shouldn't mock an American on Pearl Harbor Day. Just what I'm saying, I know it's not called Pearl Harbor Day, but that clarifies it to the international community about what I'm talking about. Okay? I'm tired of it. I really am. I'm done. I'm absolutely done trying to understand this company, trying to understand why they make their mistakes. It's over with. I want them out. I want them gone. I want Tencent to eat them whole and take the Assassin's Creed franchise and shoot it into the sun. I'm done. You should be done too. This is disgusting. There's no excuse for this. Are we going to get a Holocaust Assassin's Creed game next? Huh? You're going to release that on the date when they started rounding everybody up? Is that what you're going to do, Ubisoft? Is that going to be smart? Force people to celebrate on a day of terror? History does not belong to these corporations. They do not get to warp it around their pinky finger like a ring, like a rich man's ring. They don't get to warp it around their pinky finger like a rich man's ring. You understand me? History is ours. It belongs to the people who lived it and the bloodlines that were descended from it. It's very clear how that works. So the longer we tolerate this crap right here, the longer we tolerate this.
Who do you think you are? For the people? I am justice.
Having a foreigner come in and murder Japanese men, claiming that he is their justice. As long as we continue to tolerate these attitudes that play with history like a... I gotta be careful. YouTube doesn't like it when I get spicy like that. That play with history like a person with very loose morals, okay? We can't allow this. The time for change is now. If they want to make a game about Sengoku-era Japan, Taka was right there. He was the original protagonist for this game. Very simple, straightforward. They could have had a winner right then and there. But no. They decided to crawl right up BLM's backside and build a condominium in there. And so that's where they are today, in a failed political movement wrought with corruption and stewing in the mess of their own decisions. So again, I ask you, if you are Japanese, write to your representatives in the Japanese Diet and tell them Ubisoft must be brought to bear for their cultural violations. This, above all, cannot be excused. March 20th is off limits for games that smear the Japanese. There shouldn't be any that smear anybody's culture, really, but here we are. You'll have to let me know down in the comments what you think about this. I am getting to the point where I'm going to start saying things that'll get this channel deleted. So, until next time, guys, good luck out there.